is about everything Packers.
Packers back.
And other stuff we love.
Hey, you, beer me, beer us together, naturally.
No, make every word beer. Beer, 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 beer.
Please welcome the man who carries the G 24/7.
It is very clear that everyone must say the Bears still suck.
From Cheesehead TV, Aaron Nagler.
This is Carry the G Radio. Aaron Nagler here to take you through the next couple hours, along with Billy Schmid in isolation. They've got him quarantined, but he's still playing hurt, unlike some Green Bay Packers we might mention. And, of course, on the board, we got Armin. We got Armin throwing it down with people on Twitter about the tailgate culture in Milwaukee. I love it, Armin. Let him have it. Let him know what is up.
This boy is fighting everybody in the internet streets, Aaron.
I love
Nagler.
it
Come on
so
now.
much.
You know
I
that.
love it so much. Armin, I'm going to start right there. Tailgating, because that's a Packers thing. It's not just exclusive to the Brewers and Milwaukee and their stadium issue right now. Man, tailgating is very special in the state of Wisconsin. And for anyone to suggest that it's only there because there's nothing else to do is the most asinine thing I've seen on Twitter this week. And I'll tell you, I follow the Green Bay Packers for a living. I see a lot of asinine stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll just say it really quick. It's not that I'm against other ideas. It's not that I'm against with multi-purpose use situations or solutions. But don't denigrate the culture of tailgating. Don't disregard it as just a throwaway placeholder that people don't have anything else to do. It's something people enjoy. It's part of the esprit de corps of Brewers fans, of sports fans. And just because not everybody in the world tailgates as much as us doesn't mean we don't like to do it. So I just saw that and I side-eyed it. That's all. That's all.
Why is it so difficult for people on the internet to go, you know what? That ain't for me. And just to keep going with their life. Like, it's not for you. That's fine. Why you got to throw the entire rest of the world who enjoys it under the bus? I don't get it, man.
Because then they don't get to feel like a big strong guy hanging out.
This guy's
he's gonna listen to what I have to say.
Twitter muscles. Yeah, I feel you.
Oh gosh, they're all over the place.
They are.
Billy, the amount of trash talk that I would have lost. Sorry, go ahead, next. The amount of trash talk that I would have lost if tailgating was not through the state of Wisconsin and inside. If I would not have been able to be sitting there with my dad and my uncles grilling up a big old tenderloin in the old Kmart parking lot. Granted, we had to go into Big Lots because sometimes the traffic would be a little bit late on those gold package games. So we'd have to flow on back. It'd be a little bit longer walk. If I wouldn't have that, who would we be? You know what we would be? We'd be boring Viking fans because we'd have to bus on in. We'd have to shuttle ourselves on over from the Mall of America because there's nothing else to do but then walk 5 blocks to go find a bar and then pay $14 for a beer outside and inside. Thank you very much.
Speaking of which, I mean, Packers have their home opener on Sunday. I know you're working, so you can't really get too crazy, but how excited are you for the fact that there are going to be filled up lots? Lot 1 with the flags flying high. Packers home opener 3 weeks into the season. Let's go, Billy. Come on.
It is so good, Nags. And the one part of it that I miss, and I know that does sound rather corny and schmaltzy of me. One thing that I really do miss is walking by the Roadstar Inn right there by Kroll's and walking by the sea of RVs. Right. Yep. The ones that paid $80 so that they could park their RV there and sleep for 3 days and celebrate the entire weekend of pro football. I do, man. And this job, I had somebody who I work with and was one of my early mentors, one of my early bosses. He told me, you want to become less a fan of your favorite team? Get into sports talk radio.
Yes, sir.
And it has had the exact opposite effect on me because I think if the teams stink, guess what? Nobody wants to listen. Nobody cares, right? Like if you talk about people that say, 8-8 is the best record for sports talk radio, I don't think that's it at all. You want teams that are good. And frankly, when they're the teams that I grew up loving and dreaming about and salivating about on a Wednesday because the game is only 4 days away, it makes it all that much better, dude. So I'm going to soak up every ounce of it. We're there 2 times in 5 days. I can't wait.
How great is that? That's what I'm talking about. Obviously, we have a game to talk about. a fourth quarter meltdown to discuss, because I haven't gotten to talk to you. I kind of like this format where I get everything out of my system, and now I can look at it somewhat dispassionately, and I can come to you, my good friend who loves ball and beer and other things that I enjoy as well, and we can talk about this fourth quarter collapse, because let's call it what it was. It was a collapse. Was there a point, let me ask you this, first off the bat, right out of the gate, was there a point in that game, like you're watching it live, right? You're sitting there in the studio ready to do post game, and you're like all ready. They're there, 12-point lead, and then the tide starts to shift, right? And you feel that old momentum start to shift, even though some people don't believe in momentum. I happen to. The former quarterback who's going to be in the Hall of Fame believes in it, but regardless, you start to feel that shift. Was there a moment where you felt, oh God, it's going to get away from them?
It was the 8:09 mark in the fourth quarter. It was right after
the timestamp. That's great.
Oh yeah. It was 8:09 in the fourth quarter because it felt very eerily reminiscent, Nags, of London a year ago. And you
thank you.
Kind of know what you know what I'm saying,
100%.
where you just hadn't had the ball, right? I'm like, dude, we haven't had the ball since Desert Storm. It would be nice to be able to get a drive together and slow the pace here, because we are already looking still, it felt like 4 minutes ago, Matt Collins review in the end zone for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. You go down and score so quickly, in the blink of an eye, your defense is back on the field and getting driven on again. So you needed to sustain a little bit. And last year in London, the angst by many people in the phone calls we had on postgame was, well, why don't you run the thing once or twice? I mean, they have Rodgers come on out here, and he just changes each of these plays and goes and throws it right away. Well, they ran it 3 straight times and got 9 yards. So to not get one first down there, Nags, I thought was the complete tipping point of the game. Your defense has been on the field far too long. I also don't believe they went to a media timeout in between there, which is really the actual time on task deal.
Yes, sir.
And to me, that was the moment that PJ Fleck's statement of momentum doesn't matter in football got slapped right to the curb. That moment in time felt like you don't get a first down here, you're going to end up losing this game.
Well, speaking of those 3 runs in a row by one Mr. A.J. Dillon, the internet's on fire and was on fire immediately after that game regarding Dillon. And I'm sure you got calls about it on your show. I got chats about it on my post-game chat. I mean, here's the thing. I understand the frustrations with AJ and the lack of production. What's really bewildering, at least to me, is we know he can do it. We've seen him do it. We've seen him do it at a high level. Hell, we saw him do it in that game. But when you gotta have it, it does seem like, for whatever reason, and this seems to be a somewhat recent thing, I don't know if it's nerves, I don't know if it's excitement, a combination of both, but he does get out ahead of himself and seem to go down for no other reason than himself. And if you're the Packers, at some point, we went through a lot of this last year, which he, by his own admission, knew he needed to work on this offseason. Get these first 2 games under your belt. I gave him a pass in week 1 because I didn't think the run blocking was great. Run blocking wasn't much better this week, but there were holes to be, and there were yards to be gained.
It was good enough
that he left out there. You start to feel a little concerned if you're the Packers, because you got Aaron Jones, who's dealing with a hamstring injury, A.J. Dillon, who can't get you the yards you 100% expect him to get. Is it time to mix in more Emmanuel Wilson? Is Patrick Taylor the answer? What's your take here on A.J. Dillon, and how do you think the Packers approach this?
Well, I was a little bit surprised that Patrick Taylor didn't get any run on the inside, right? Like at all. And it almost seemed like, Nags, that I think it was the first or second series where Rasheed Walker's still deciding which guy he's going to block on that blitz that they brought on the outside to the left. But Patrick Taylor kind of clouds it by running out onto his route.
Yep.
Looks like he's going to chip, doesn't touch anybody at all. And then Walker's like, wait, what happened? And Jordan Love's getting sacked right behind himself, right? So, there were a couple of moments that maybe that took him off the field. I thought he had the first down on the second down run, and it was what you had just talked about. Maybe he just is a little bit ahead of his skis. I thought his pad level was what he was focusing on, and he mentioned it yesterday. And I do think he was running aggressively, but maybe too aggressively that he was somewhat out of control at that spot. And was the spot great? Maybe not. It was definitely in favor of Atlanta, but that's one that you got to be able to get. And it, to me, feels like more nerves than anything. And I don't have anything other to go on but just what I watch on TV and what I'll see at Lambeau this week. And it's a contract year. He knows everything that this year means to him. I don't believe it's because they were talking about maybe going and trading for Jonathan Taylor, because this is all kind of the same thing that we've watched and dealt with, I think, all year last year. Next, correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't feel a whole lot different, but just the necessity of him producing has gotten ratcheted up because of the Aaron Jones injury and the departure of 12.
I couldn't agree more. And that's the thing. You're counting on him. They're counting on him. And for him to, not deliver the way you expect him to, and you would hope to, I understand the kind of the consternation around the fan base. Look, you know how the Packers think. You know how they operate. They're going to look at this long term. They're going to give him every opportunity. And I mean every opportunity. They're going to think in big windows, right? I suspect, Aaron Jones, I'll be surprised if he's out there on Sunday. The hamstring injuries early in the season, who knows? They have all the medical info as far as how close he might be to returning. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get out there at practice tomorrow and Aaron Jones still isn't out there. Look how long Christian Watson has been on the shelf. Every injury is different, but the Packers, they're always going to err on the side of caution.
That's the thing, Nags. You've watched this team, and you've lived and died with every snap for long enough. You know how cautious their training staff is going to be, and rightfully so. I don't fault them being cautious with any of these injuries. It is week 3, right? Like, as much as it's the most important game of the season, because it's the only one that you can win. A lot of ball games left, so you do have to temper the expectation and maybe the aggressiveness with it, because this is the other part of it. You get an extended bye week or a little bit longer week after the Thursday night game. Then you go to Vegas and then you have your bye. Yeah. So as much as we're worried about trying to win this condensed stretch of games, they're looking at it saying, we got to go 11 games in 11 weeks out of this bye. That's going to be really, really tough if our best player is one that's down.
Got to have him up. Need him for the long haul. No question about it. Hey, you know what? As we're sitting here talking, living and dying with teams and being fans and wanting to get into it. I'm a fan of you, sir, as a coach. I need to know what happened Friday. Would you take you pulled off the W? Did you take the L? What happened?
We did. Yes. Luckily, the Arrowhead Warhawks got themselves a much needed victory. A little get right game against Waukesha.
That's what I'm talking about. There we go.
Big one this week, Nags. The state runners up, Mugwanago. They deserve everyone's attention, so it should be a fun one. And listen, if you're in the Mugwanago area, come and wear some red on Friday night and support the Warhawks.
There you go. Friday Night Lights, baby. I love it.
There's nothing better, is there, Nags?
No.
I mean,
dude, no.
I got into this battle a couple of different times, and Mike Heller would just despise me for saying it a bunch of times, and Mike Heller will be back tomorrow, I know. High school football is meant to be played on Fridays. College football is meant to be played on Saturdays. Correct. NFL football is meant to be played any other damn day of the week, okay? Like, you can play a game on Wednesday and I'll be okay, right? Like, I need something to invest on.
They had 2 games last night. Couldn't they put one of those games on tonight? That's what I'm saying. Tuesday night football.
They have royally messed up this doubleheader again, haven't they? I mean, they're going to do it again next week. Does ESPN like cannibalizing their own ratings, Nags?
Apparently. It's a Disney thing, man. They're so desperate with ESPN. They don't know what to do with ESPN. They're just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks at this point.
But the 6 o'clock to the 9:15 doubleheader was chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, I still salivate.
Stop making sense, Billy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's a good point. I should probably stop making sense.
You got to stop making sense, but you don't have to stop being a degenerate. I know you love getting a little shot in here or there on the tables, on the spread, on whatever. The Packers are 1-1 against the spread. Packers are 1-1 against the spread to match their straight up record, unless you were able to pick Green Bay up when they were underdogs later in week 2. They are currently 2-point favorites over the Saints. Are you buying that? What is your thoughts on 2-point favorites at home opener against the Saints?
I'm gonna caution all investors to maybe hold off just a couple of days. Like in 300, right? Hold. just for the TikTok reference that, yeah, guys kind of do think about the Roman Empire like once a month. Just hold on, and then unload once that thing gets to even money.
Oh, I love it. Just so you know, the only reason I know what you're referencing regarding TikTok and the Roman Empire is because of my 15-year-old daughter. So well played. Well played.
They got to
literally
keep
the
young,
only reason.
Max.
She literally told me about it this weekend, and I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So I'm glad you can connect with the youths.
But it is bad. It is true. I mean, once you get to a certain age, Nags, it's either you're thinking about the Roman Empire once a month or you're getting really, really deep into your World War II history. Yes.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I got some real holes. I got to fill in the rest of this gaps. Then you start really researching World War I. And then once you really start getting into like the French and Indian War, yeah, then we need to get on out of here. Then you need to go find a hobby.
Yeah. Olive, my youngest, did point out that my whole kind of living room is filled with World War II books. She's like, it's Roman Empire or World War II, Dad.
But they're all good. Okay.
Fair. Do we have to take a break? Do I hear music? What's going on? Am I losing my mind?
We got to take a quick time out, and then we'll come right on back and continue.
You people on the radio
throughout here
needing to make money, sell at. What are you doing over here? Let's go.
You got to pay this Aaron Nagler salary. Come on. What are you talking about?
Okay. We'll talk about that. All right.
Carry the G's back right after this on The Game.
are young, hearted to heart, we stand. No promises, no demands.
What a perfect song for the Green Bay Packers in 2023. We are young. They are young. And love is a battlefield. Love is on the battlefield.
Dude, my favorite is the Pat Benatar just slow, like hyping up in the background. We are young. That's like Nags in the background every single time the Packers are coming on up for a third and 3. They're going to try to convert. We are going to convert. Just speak it into existence. That's that manifesting.
Manifesting, baby. You got to manifest. Got to manifest. Got to admit, that's a great pull, Armin. That's a hot pull right there. You gotta love it.
Some Patty.
You can't go wrong with some love is a battlefield. No question about it.
It's a battlefield on out here in these streets, though, Nags. I mean, I heard I heard you on with Zabe today, firing out a couple of conspiracy theories about old 69.
Oh,
I know.
Lord.
I imagine
Here
your
we-
mentions are
Here
just
we go. Here we
blasted off with them.
Oh, man, can't anyone just take anything at face value anymore? Why is everything a conspiracy?
Nope.
Why is everything? I mean, I understand Aaron Rodgers hurt you all by saying he was immunized, and now everybody doesn't trust anything. But, man, sometimes a dude's just hurt, you know? Sometimes a dude just goes through a 2-year process of trying to get back on the field, fighting, scratching, clawing, doing everything he can to get back out there and represent the green and gold. And how do you repay him as a fan? You call him a liar. You say he's avoiding the turf, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Man, he drains his knee like as much as I drink beer, which is a lot.
A lot.
We
Quite
just
often.
appreciate what the man does when he's on the field. And here's my other thing. Here's the other thing that drives me insane about the Bakhtiari discourse, if you want to call it that. Is this idea that everybody jumps, well, not everybody, but certain people. One person in the Green Bay Packers YouTube chat the other day, but people jump to the contract. Oh, he's getting paid all this. He's getting paid all that. Yeah, because when he's out there, he's an all-pro. He's a lockdown. You can put Von Miller on him, pass rushing one-on-one, and Von Miller talks about how, I couldn't do anything. Yeah, no kidding. Because David Bakhtiari is freaking good.
Yeah, and by the way, is Von Miller giving any money back? Because he started the season on PUP list, too, after missing the end of last year, right? Like, guys get hurt.
The contract thing drives me insane.
Well, there's a lot. You know how many pocketbook polices there are.
Is it your money? Is it coming out of your paycheck? No? Then shut up. Who cares when he's getting paid?
Aaron, dang right it's my money because I bought the tickets and I bought the shirts at the Packer Pro Shop.
I completely understand people want to pay their money for a ticket, go to the stadium and boo. I have no problem with that. I got no problem with booing fans. But man, it is a Tuesday and people are worked up about David Bakhtiari's contract. Like, come on.
Oh, well, it's not going to change. Not going to change.
I am aware.
And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And
I agree.
Part of it is because Nags, and this is where we are in such an instant gratification world. You know it, Armin and my we are young. So we want everything now. We want it now. I want my information now. I want Dave to tell me now about why he's not playing. We're going to have to wait till tomorrow. Maybe we wait till Thursday. Maybe
knowing David, he won't talk all week.
At all.
He won't talk
right?
all
Like
week.
He won't talk all week. And then you have to sit here and try to filibuster for it. So I got a lot of different feelings on it because there is the part where, as a staunch Dave defender, he didn't know me squat. But it would be very helpful as a defender of Dave to have some information of if indeed this is
a protest of the turf,
and a protest of, because then you know what? Then you can either support or go against it. Right? Like then that line is clearly drawn in the sand. The battlefield is there. We know what we're fighting. But if it's an injury and it is continually hampering him and it's not going to get better, then you prepare as such. And then maybe Rasheed Walker's not in any tackle eligible situations. So we don't have to rotate left tackles for 2 plays because you have to come on out and sub out for a play if you're going to be that tackle eligible guy. Like then it can just give us a lot more answers.
Yeah, but here's
the prep
thing.
That way.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but Rasheed Walker literally took all the reps at starting left tackle throughout the week. He found out he was starting Saturday night when Dave told him, but it's not like he wasn't prepared. It wasn't like he hasn't played
Sure.
there ever before, in practice at least, or in preseason games, during training camp, etc. It was a rough start for Rasheed Walker. Make no mistake about it. That is you talk about a nightmare scenario for your first NFL start in a loud dome, insanely loud environment, fast track. These guys, you have to look inside at the football and then get out of your stance on something. Like, I understand, like, that is being thrown into the fire. But now he's got it under his belt, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will be called upon again, maybe Sunday, maybe sometime down the road. Those are valuable reps that he got on Sunday. It's a step forward. It's continuing to develop guys, which is what the Packers do, right? This is the thing for me.
That is their thing, yeah.
As frustrating as Sunday was, how valuable was everything that young team went through as far as building blocks for the future? And I get it. That doesn't erase an L. It doesn't erase the frustrations from having watched it. But man, that there's so much positive stuff to take from that game. And it just kills me that people are, I mean, legitimately, I have talked about nothing other than David Bakhtiari not playing and A.J. Dillon falling down, seemingly for the last 48 hours. And it's just, I just wish people could maybe just look past that just a little bit. I understand it's a component of it, but man, there's a million other things you can focus on that were positive or negative, other than these two headlines that have seemingly dominated since the end of the game.
Well, and I don't know where you fell into it, because as much as I should have second screened the Cheesehead TV watch party, but I had one ear, I had the radio broadcast, one ear, I had the television broadcast, and you don't want to just look at my belly button. It's not an appealing part of it. So as the game is going on,
right,
and as you're watching the poise of number 10 in the pocket after starting out 0 for 2,
right,
and everything that happened in the middle of it, Nags, I was at the Brewer game on Saturday night after I did Badger post game. So they go up 5-1, and slowly but surely the Nationals start chipping away.
Oh yeah, they did. Right.
And then I left in the middle of the 8th inning before the Mark Canha grand slam, because in the midst of it, you're sitting here like, wait a second, they're still winning, right? They're still winning this game. They've controlled the entire game. There's no issue here. Like, I thought Jordan was in such complete control that for a quick split second, I was like, wait a second, that fourth quarter was bad. I should probably go back and look at it, because I just couldn't, in my mind, I couldn't flush away how good the first 3 quarters looked into just singularly focusing on the fourth. And it's all a part of the soup. But the command and the poise for the first 3 quarters, everything you just mentioned, on the road, loud environment, uncommon opponent, made me more encouraged than concerned, even with walking out of there holding a fat L out of the ATL.
Well, that's a great point on Jordan and his command and his poise, and the fact that he leads the NFL in passer rating and touchdown passes at the moment.
Touchdown passes, yeah.
Damn impressive. Here's something that it's funny, because you think of the fourth quarter, right? That plays in your mind predominantly because of the meltdown, whatever. I'm thinking, oh God, you just got to convert a third down. Just convert one of those third downs. Did you realize the Packers are currently 48% on third down? That's good for 5th in the league. So they're good overall on third down, but man, when you got absolutely 100% got to have it, things seem to tighten up a little bit. And I do wonder how much of that is, just young players not knowing which way to go. You got backup linemen in there. You got a running back tripping over his feet, whatever. And how much of that is the coach? How much of that is the play calls? How much of that is the drive before? We're talking a lot about the 3-run drive, but the drive before, where they barely took 40 seconds off the clock, where Matt goes for that kill shot. Essentially, there's he's got 2 deep crossers, and I know the broadcast replayed the basically the overhead, the all 22, where Jordan probably makes the wrong read. He had a chance at probably a touchdown pass if he goes to the other side of the field, but quarterbacks do this all the time. He goes for Wicks on the other side. It's incomplete. You run AJ, you get a yard, third down, you don't convert, you're off the field. You've taken no time off the clock. And now here come the Falcons again to run all over you. And we'll talk about Joe Barry in a bit, but right now we're talking about Jordan. It's funny that you mentioned the fact that he's been so good in stretches, and it hasn't been a play here or a play there. He seemingly does get hot, right?
Yeah.
Both games, I think he's come a little slow out of the gate. He's rushed some throws. I think especially in that Falcons game, he had one to Musgrave, one to Reed, where I think he's just hurrying the throw because he's been told all week long, get the ball out of your hand. There's a fact that these guys are coming after you. There's going to be free rushers, what have you. But once he settled in, holy Toledo, man, this kid's got the goods. How excited are you as a Packers fan? Just because all summer long, we had no idea what to expect, right? It was all like, okay, he looks good in camp. He looks good in preseason. That doesn't mean much. These things have been live these last 2 weeks, and Jordan has answered the bell in a big, big way.
Well, and you mentioned that maybe it wasn't as crisp early as you would have liked, and I think you're right. But then you go 11 plays, 84, take 5+ minutes off the clock, score a touchdown. Almost 6 minutes off the clock on another 10-play drive. Go and get more points. Then back-to-back touchdowns out of the break, and the only real fault that you could maybe have is that they only took 10 plays, and that you only ran 20 in the second half, and not all of that is on him. Like I was one of the more pessimistic Packer backers throughout the transition here because I looked at more of the growing pain that you would have and anticipated it being a lot more significant and a lot more glaring early on, the issues that you were going to have. To be honest with you, Nags, he's exceeded all of my expectations and has looked better than I could have imagined. He has looked so much more confident. And the other parts of it, we kind of touched on a little bit of it last week, and maybe some folks on the talk and text line, 414-799-1973 will agree or disagree with it. He's looked as if the bad habits that you kind of heard about in the pre-draft process are taken away. Like he gallops into that one that you're talking about where he decides to go to Wicks instead of Dobbs. Dude, he's looking to take the top off the defense. Too many young quarterbacks are trying to be as safe as possible.
Check down Charlie.
As much risk as possible.
Yes, sir.
No, Jordan's saying that I'm going to
try to gunslinger, man. That's what I love about him. He's a gunslinger.
But he was a little too much of a gunslinger, I think, at Utah State, and that seems like it's been coached out of him a little bit.
But what I love is that he's a gunslinger who hasn't thrown any interceptions yet. Now, as far as I can see, I think he's thrown 2 balls that were definitely in danger. Like there's one in particular in Atlanta where probably should have been picked.
Yeah,
but
that's going to happen. Needs to catch that one. Yep.
Yes, 100%. But that's going to happen. And the fact that he is, to your point, pushing the ball downfield, not afraid to throw these intermediate to deep passes and not getting picked off. And he's throwing in tight windows. That one to Wicks that ends up as a touchdown, that's not an easy throw. That's a dart. And Wicks breaks that tackle and makes it turns it into a touchdown. But these are not like dinking and dunking, just take what the defense is giving you throws. He's taking what he wants instead of
in the
taking what the defense gives him.
And the incomplete pass in the corner of the end zone might have been his best throw of the day.
Oh, that's the best throw of the day. 100%.
I mean,
it's just a great play.
It's an absolute
by the DB.
beauty. Yeah, and you do tip your cap. I mean, those guys get paid too. But now you need to get to the next level. Now you need to get to the next step. And like Matt in Minneapolis on the talk text line said, care to discuss Love falling over on the sneak? That was worse than any A.J. Dillon fall, in my opinion. Well, yeah, because nobody else moved. And it's now become one of the better memes of I'm going to have one beer, wait 10 beer before the game.
That was hilarious. You cannot sit here and tell me like objectively how freaking funny that was. I mean, it was hilarious.
I didn't see it from the back end until I saw it all over NFL memes, Nags.
Oh my God.
And it was way funnier than I anticipated.
That's what I posted a clip from our watch party yesterday about how I died when they showed the replay from behind where he like lunges forward, nobody else moves, and then he turns his head and just starts talking to Josh Myers while he's still on the ground. Like, what is he saying? Sorry about that.
It's like your buddy that trips back like into the bar stool when he went to the bathroom and what he totally did was go and throw up, sit on the toilet for like 4 or 5 minutes and then just throw a bunch of water on his face to try to feel a lot better and then just fall in. Hey man, you have another one? No, we're not. We're probably not going to get many more opportunities to go.
We're probably not going to.
But hey, it's okay.
I will say, hey, but shout out to Jordan as he took ownership of it.
Owned it,
in the
man.
Post-game
That's
presser.
a big step.
Absolutely owned it. Kind of refreshing. I don't know what I'm talking about here. I may be inferring something, but it's kind of refreshing to have your starting quarterback in the post-game presser putting it all on himself instead of throwing people under the bus. I don't know what I might be talking about, but I'm just pontificating here, Billy. I don't
know what you're talking about.
Bringing some stuff up to the fore, as it were, but nothing specific.
No one specific. No individual specific.
No, sir.
414-799-1973. Next, why don't we get to a couple of calls right after this timeout? Because we do I know you hate this radio part of
Let's go make that money, maybe. Let's make that cheddar. Let's do it.
We'll make some money, and then we'll take some calls. You make them at 414-799-1973. Carry the G Radio with Cheesehead TV's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid, Armin Sarian, guiding the Love Ship Covenant here today on Carry the G.
But you are a natural beauty, unaffected. Did I say an hour? My face.
Carry the G Radio across the great state of Wisconsin on several YouTube channels. Number one in your heart and your program. It's Billy Schmid. Armin's playing some tunes. We're talking Packers. It's what we do. Did you know, Billy, that this program is beamed out not only across the great city of Milwaukee, but through several cities in the great state of Wisconsin, including Sparta, which is the bicycling capital of America. Were you aware of this?
Let's go. Are you serious? Our friends in Cow Country are listening to us in Sparta? One of our fine Packer radio affiliates.
Otherwise known as the bicycling capital of America.
It's a great spot to be biking around on. I mean, all those bluffs on up there. Now, listen, I'd need like 4 or 5 different inhalers if I was going to be biking around over there in the western part of the state. But I'm all for it. I'm all down for it. And listen, as long as somebody's there to save me.
They carry the G in Sparta. No doubt.
Well, and listen, Nags, they have to, because they have to fight all those Viking fans where the Minnesota 100%. Nice is not so nice part of it. So I've had my Dukes on up here with Bear fans for quite some time, but that's now just a pummeling. That actually there in the western part of the state is like the Florida offensive lineman squaring up against the Tennessee linebacker there on the Saturday night game. Dukes just straight on up all game long, ready to fight.
Love it. Absolutely love it. You know who carries the G as well? Not just our friends in Sparta, but I believe we have Justin in North Carolina ready to
definitely carries the G.
To carry the G on the air with us. What's going on, Justin?
Yeah, what's good, guys, man? Sorry about my voice. I yelled my lungs out in Atlanta. Was hoping to see the Packers win, but it didn't go our way. I'm super optimistic about Love. I really love that, pun intended, that 30-yard scramble from him. But
yes, sir.
For you, Nags, and for you, Billy, especially with you being, my O-lineman guy. So I went to the game Monday night here in Charlotte, Saints and Panthers, too. So I'm scared against the Saints defensive line. And I'm kind of cautious with starting David or Aaron Jones, seeing that you're probably not going to get much run against that D-line. And those guys are some dogs up there that beat up people. I just want to get your thoughts about that.
It's a good question.
That's a great question. Justin, first of all,
voice, get a little
rest that voice.
Yep.
And the reason you don't have a voice is because you carry the G, because you were there in Atlanta. You were there cheering on the guys. And that's what we're talking about right here on Carry the G Radio. Look, if the medical staff says you're good, and you go out there and play. Like, you don't rest people because, they're really tough and strong and what have you. Yeah. Yes, they got a bunch of guys who get after it. Cam Jordan is no joke. Like, they are talented. But, man, David Bakhtiari's talented. Like we were just talking about. He erases people. Like, you want to help Jordan Love. You want to help whoever's carrying the football with a good offensive line, a good performance up front, and that starts by getting your all-pro at left tackle back out on the field. Now, who knows? We'll see starting tomorrow where he sits on the injury report. I suspect he'll be listed. I doubt he'll practice, much like he didn't leading up these last 2 games. But we got a ways to go in that regard. But you are right, Justin, to I'm not worried, because there's no need to worry about football. But you're right to be concerned, let's say, about this Saints defense in general. This Saints defensive front in particular, they're no joke. They've gotten after it.
And this Carl Granderson is going to be a problem too. I mean, like right? Like, you already know about Cam Jordan. Sir. You go into a game, DeMario Davis is there, and he's one of the most underrated players in the position in football. And then Granderson's just all over the field last night. I'm like, wait, get this guy.
It's him again.
It literally David Ayumata walks on out of here, and you don't even have to worry. He walks right over to Atlanta, and you have to see him all week too. I'm like, okay, he'll calm down. No Sheldon Rankins over there. Doesn't matter. We'll just flip in Nathan Shepard and not miss a beat. New Orleans is good, man. Their defense is really, really good. I think more than anything, I think their secondary is where I'd be concerned, necessarily less against the ground game. But I'm with you. You don't sit anybody out of fear of who you're going up against.
No chance.
What you do is you have to fight strength with strength. And what you're really going to need, Nags, is we get the left side is going to be dinged up. You need a lot more from the inside. You need the interior to be strong and stout, because Zach Tom's going to have his hand full over on the outside with Cam Jordan.
Yep.
Shea Walker's going to have his hands full there as well with Jordan when he's rushing, and Granderson on the other side. But you need Josh Myers to play well. You need your best game out of 71. You need John Runyon to play well as well, because I think if you're going to be able to run the ball, it's going to be more in between the tackles than on the outside.
Here's the thing with the running game. It hasn't been up to snuff. It has not been up to the standard that you need these first 2 weeks. There is zero doubt about it. But I talked about this a little bit on Cheesehead TV, where you get what you emphasize. That's an old coaching adage. Like, we all know it in the game. You get what you emphasize. You were out there at practice this summer, Billy. This is a team that has emphasized the passing game on offense for
Big
good
time,
reason.
yeah.
For good reason. It's a passing league. You've got a young quarterback who needs every possible rep that he can get. Not to mention, when you are practicing your running game, you're not going full bore. You're not allowed to hit. You're not allowed to even be close to as physical as you need to be in the running game. I do not doubt for a moment that the Atlanta Falcons spent every waking moment working on their running game this summer. The Packers, I'm not going to say it was an afterthought, but it was definitely second to the passing game. So
totally,
I do not doubt these first couple weeks hasn't been up to snuff. Run blocking across the board needs to get better. I suspect it will improve week by week. I do think you'll see not a little more cohesion, because who knows with the up and down nature of who's going to be playing where on this offensive line. But I do think because now they're going to be a little bit more football shape, they're going to be, they'll have a lot more banked reps, actual reps, not preseason reps, not summer camp reps. It's actual live NFL football reps. There should be a little bit of improvement. I'm not saying it's going to be lights out all of a sudden, but you should see improvement from week to week. That would be my thinking.
Yeah, and you hope that more than anything, it's consistency, right? Like that if indeed Aaron Jones is back, if it's A.J. Dillon toting the rock 15, 17 times again this week, that consistently you're able to cover up guys. Don't need massive movement as much as, the Green Bay moving company is what you want. No, cover up guys and stay in front. Yep. Cover up guys and stay in front. Let's go back out to the phone lines. Thomas is listening in Kentucky. Thomas, you're on Carry the G. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Nagler? Let me just say first off, Nagler, I am so happy that you got a radio show. I'm so happy that you're able to spread your lovely message of carrying the G out to the United States and beyond. I've been watching you ever since you've been doing your little Facebook lives, and let me just say that you really kind of like settled me down as a fan, just to kind of like calm down and just watch the product. We'll let these guys develop. Just kind of not being too much of a Facebook fan is what I call it. But my question for you is Watson. Everybody was talking about the loss down in Atlanta being without David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins and Aaron Jones, and Christian Watson is brought up in that as being your prototypical wide receiver number one. My question is that last year, not only because of the quarterback, but because of the injuries, he was kind of slow getting started. And then he really burst on the scene mid-season. And everybody's talking all the offseason, oh, my God, Christian Watson is going to be really good. Can he replicate that? That's my question. Is he going to be that guy that's like, okay, I'm here and I'm going to absolutely do what I want, take what I want, and goal score 50 touchdowns a game? Or is he going to be like, oh, I can't hold on to a ball? I mean, like, the offense.
I hear you, man.
That's my main question.
Here's the thing to remember. In that game where he, quote unquote, burst onto the scene against Dallas, don't ever forget he dropped the first two passes thrown his way. You know what I mean? Like, everyone remembers the big touchdowns, the flip, the fact that he just burned Dallas repeatedly in that game and then went on to have just an insane tear. But he dropped the first two that were thrown his way that night. It's never easy. And the idea that, yes, he's going to be out there and he's going to be given opportunities. It's about making the most of them. I do not doubt for a moment that teams are going to pay attention to him, obviously, but I don't think he's going to get the wide receiver one treatment right out of the gate. Teams are going to make him they're going to play their defense. And I think maybe a little bit of, we'll rotate towards him or what have you. But I think, Matt's task will be getting him all over the formation, utilizing him in a lot of different ways, putting him inside, on the perimeter, hell, maybe even out of the backfield. I think, does he have the ability? Does he have the talent? Does he have the upside to just hit the ground running? 100%. But I think part of it is how the defense plays you, what kind of scheme you're going against, what the other guys are able to do. You get Reed going like you did last week. Wick starts contributing. Well, now as a defensive coordinator, you got some choices to make. And whenever you're leaving Christian Watson one-on-one, good luck.
Negs, I think Jaden Reed almost more than Romeo Dobbs will impact how teams play Christian Watson, because I do think you have to respect Reed's deep ball ability a little bit more, even though Dobbs was open a couple of different times. And we talked about it with him when he joined our radio show 9 to noon earlier on today, that, he said if he would have hit him there on that deep one into the fourth quarter, it was 6. Yeah. But I think Dobbs is going to be able to take advantage much more in sheer volume, whereas Reed is a threat to kind of go
home run
over
hitter.
the top.
He's a home run hitter,
and he also has the aggressiveness at the top of the catch to go and compete and win, I think, against a safety or a corner. So I do agree with you, though, that it's going to take some time. Like, it's not going to be instant that teams are just saying, well, I'm going to double up Christian Watson and then we'll be okay. They're going to trust that their guys are going to go on out there and win as well.
I tell you what, though, Reed keeps putting up games like he did on Sunday. He's going to draw that attention, and Watson is going to feast, no doubt.
What's your comp for Jaden Reed? I've gotten laughed at a couple of different times when I've said like Kirkland, Steve Smith, and I don't mean that in any disrespect. But you're talking about a smaller dude.
That's pretty good, though.
Go on up and make some really mean catches and let you hear about it after.
He's definitely going to let you hear about it. I don't know. I think he's a bit more of an athlete than Smith was. And that's no disrespect to Smith, but I'm telling you, Jaden Reed has the capacity to be special in a way that I don't think we've seen in Green Bay in a very long time. Just a different type of receiver. You know what they like. They like those big guys over the middle, powerful, blah, blah, blah. That's not Reed's game. He is a dynamo, an explosive.
They like big Corin Robinson like.
Exactly. That's what they like. He's a little different, and I'm here for it.
What I like is doing Carry the G radio with Aaron Nagler and folks from across the country who are just watching Aaron Nagler on Facebook, calling him their little Facebook Live videos. This man is world freaking wide. No more little Facebook Live videos from my man Aaron Nagler. Carry the
shout
G
out to
radio.
those who were watching.
You're damn right. And I was one of them, and I was one of them following along, and now we get to do a radio show on Tuesdays, noon to 2. Woo! Too much fun. 414-799-1973 if you want to talk to that man, Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV, because the next hour of Carry the G Radio happens right after this.
This is Carry the G, a show about everything Packers.
Packers back.
And other stuff we love.
Hey, you, beer me, beer us together naturally.
No, make every word beer. Beer, 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 beer.
Please welcome the man who carries the G 24/7.
It is very clear that everyone must say the Bears still suck.
From Cheesehead TV, Aaron Nagler.
Carry the G Radio across the great land of Wisconsin and various YouTube channels. Aaron Nagler here, ready to take you through the next hour with Billy Schmid and Armin on the decks. Armin, everyone a banger. You know how you guys do banger or no banger, whatever the hell it's called. It's a banger every time you throw it on the decks.
Let's go.
Everyone a banger. I love it.
Because the guy never misses. He just never misses. He ripped some Birdman earlier on today, and I'm like, goodness gracious, Armin, what are we coming back with next? Kiss Me Through the Phone by Soulja Boy.
That's right. That's another one. Yeah.
You might not know anything about Kiss Me Through the Phone, but goodness gracious, that brings up some memories of your boy from junior year of high school. I mean, that
throwing it back
into the time.
Throwing it back. Hey, speaking of throwing it back, we got a bunch of brand spanking new Pro Football Hall of Fame nominees to talk about here.
Yes.
From the green and gold and various others, 94 offensive players, 62 defensive players, 17 special teams players. Modern era nominees will be reduced to 25 semifinalists in November. The main thrust of the kind of Packers affiliates, right? There's two types. There's always guys who you identify primarily with the Green Bay Packers. They were Packers through and through. And then there's the guys who they had a cup of coffee at some point. Yep. So they're on the list and they're former Green Bay Packers, but you don't really identify them as Green Bay Packers. But from the main group, buddy, and you want to talk about throwing it back, bringing up some memories?
Come on.
We got Jordy Nelson. We got Josh Sitton. We got TJ Lang. Nick Collins. Donald Driver. John Kuhn, your colleague. And then Bryce Paup and Allen Rossum. I think those are the guys that, Bryce Paup probably straddles the line because, obviously he made his hay early with the Packers and then moved on. But that's a core group of Packers players who are all up for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's pretty damn impressive. That's a nice group.
It was pretty awesome when we were on an hour or so ago and the Lily Zhao pumped it on out and I saw it there and I brought it to John's attention. And Armin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I don't think John had seen it.
He had definitely not seen it. Because you said, Armin, just get the breaking news ready.
Awesome. Just hit the breaking news and let's see what it hits.
You hear it first from you, and I think we got his reaction pretty organically. That's pretty awesome.
It was just a sweet, genuine smile from somebody who dedicated so much of his life to the green and gold and has chosen
and still does.
And chosen to do it again and chosen to do more of it.
Yes.
Nags. That's so spot on. Like it's amazing for me as somebody who grew up watching Julius Peppers terrorizing human beings to see him for 3 years in a Packer uniform. I'm going to take a lot of credit for when he goes into, listen, if he's not first ballot,
he's walking in. No.
Then they need to get. Then they need to completely get rid. Then they need to completely
burn
get
down
rid
the building. Come on.
Thank you.
Come on.
Yes. You want to talk about tiers in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, he goes into that upper tier of guys. So when he came to the Green Bay Packers, I don't care that he made all of his name with Carolina. Don't even care that I still think of him in Carolina blue than I do in Panther blue. But he's a Green Bay Packer to me. John Kuhn and all those guys that you just mentioned, those guys are Green Bay Packers. Nobody's ever going to think of Jordy Nelson in the silver and black. They're going to think of him in the green and gold.
Well, they're not going to think of Josh Sitton in Bears uniforms. You know what I mean? They are Green Bay.
There's no Dolphin teal Josh Sitton jerseys that are going to be hanging on out there in Canton.
You are correct. Now, here's the thing. I'm glad you brought up Julius Peppers because I was going to say that's the other kind of had a cup of coffee tier that he leads, obviously, because he's Julius Peppers. 3 years. He did play for the Bears. We're not going to think about that. But, yes, he came into the league, much ballyhoo, top 5 pick for the Panthers. Zero doubt walking into the Hall of Fame. But the rest of the list is kind of interesting because there's some dudes on here, I got to admit, I forgot played for the Green Bay Packers at one point. You got Hardy Nickerson, him I remember. Wesley Walls, him I remember because of the amazing catch, the Brett Favre night after his dad died game. the amazing catch down there out there in California. And then you've got like Eric Metcalf, Sean Landetta, Jari Evans, who I think is a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Yes.
He is so good, but like I barely remember him like that one year at guard for the Packers. And then you have Jeff Saturday, who did go to the Pro Bowl as a center for the Green Bay Packers, probably his worst year as a professional. But name recognition isn't a thing. No.
Went to the Pro Bowl in maybe his worst season as an NFL player. Got
no question.
Benched before he went to the Pro Bowl.
Yes,
and
sir.
Still one of the longest lasting memories that we'll ever have of the Pro Bowl in Hawaii, as everybody's celebrating at Aloha Stadium, is Jeff Saturday trotting out in a
going
Packers
to the
helmet
AFC
to give
side.
the snap on the AFC side. Oh, it's amen.
A classic. And then there's Vontae Leach, another fellow fullback for John Kuhn, who did come into the league with the Packers, but then went on and mostly made his name with the Ravens, I would say.
Yeah,
but
and I also mentioned...
Those are all great players. Great.
Yeah, and I mentioned Vontae Leach's name when we broke the news to John, and I did say, and you're listed before Vontae Leach, so suck that, Vontae. And I don't know if anybody got the fact that it was a joke, but yeah, seriously.
No, we took it very seriously.
Yeah, congratulations
Dude,
to him and his family.
I love it. Okay, but wait. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to put you on the spot. It's got to be done. It's got to be done, Billy. Here, I'm going to list it real quick again. Of all these guys, you can only pick one to go, and I'm not including John because you work with him and you'd have to face him tomorrow. I'm going to ask, which one do you put in the Pro Football Hall of Fame first? Jordy, Sitton, Lang, Collins, Driver, Pop, or Rossum?
So I'm gonna exclude the last two because personally I don't really remember. I wasn't there for all their greatest hits.
Makes sense.
I got all their albums, but I'm not there for their greatest hits. It's a really tough one between the two wideouts. Like I think Sitton's candidacy might be a little better because people will look at guard a little differently. I'm gonna go with Donald. Simply because of the entirety of the story and the crossover from being Brett's favorite target to then still being Rodgers' favorite target for a couple of years. So I'll go Donald, real close second to Jordy. What about you?
Oh, out of that group, I put Sitton in first. Like to me, there's really no question. I mean, he and TJ obviously are more than worthy, but Sitton, he was on another level. I mean, when you talk about pure guard play, as far as his ability to not only move guys, but to be on the move, executing that zone scheme in Mike's offense. He was absolutely a cut above at his position. With Donald, he put up great numbers, no question about it, but he was never the best receiver in the league. You know, like not even, no shade to Donald, but like, he wasn't in that conversation, right? Josh Sitton was in the conversation for best guard in the league for multiple years. So, for me, that's probably where I would go.
And Josh Sitton had an Hall of Fame worthy troll of me when I was a freshman in high school as a Bucks ball boy. He was sitting behind the bench with a couple of his friends. And as I'm filling up water, Nags, right? I'm filling up just the little Gatorade cups of water to hand to the players during the timeout. This guy taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, man, I want your hat." I'm like, well, no, like I'm working. It's my hat. I need it for my uniform. It's my hat. And the guy next to him was like, "Well, listen, if you give him your hat, we'll introduce you to Aaron Rodgers." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds awesome. But again, I'm going to get in trouble because I don't have my hat." I didn't recognize that it was Josh Sitton and his friend that were sitting behind me trying to get my hat. So I walked into halftime thinking, all right, cool. I'm not going to get in trouble. Boss looks at me and goes, "What the hell? A Packer asks for your hat. You give him a hat. All right. We'll give him the new one. All right. We'll get you another one. It's fine. Josh Sitton wants your damn hat. You give it to him next time." So, all right, cool. He never came to another Bucks game because apparently I ruined and soiled his experience.
You ruined the experience. Way to go, Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I ruined it for Josh Sitton. So, yeah, that's my one story for once the Jacksonville, Florida native goes into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I will also say I love Sitton when he was on the radio every week. And at one point, you know, the offense was bogging down. They were kind of in fits and starts. And he legit on the radio, live into a microphone goes, "We just need to run the ball more." Like he's like straight out calling out McCarthy. Like, God bless him. And look, I don't know if you saw McCarthy's They made a video. Mike made a video for Jordy and Josh when they went into the Packers Hall of Fame, and you saw Mike get choked up at the end. Man, I love Mike McCarthy. I know he gets all sorts of crap and hate from Packers fans for what he didn't do, but man, what he did do in Green Bay was really freaking special. And I hope the further away we get from his time as the coach of the Green Bay Packers, more people recognize that, because man, that guy loved being the coach of the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
And I think you could tell it meant a lot to him, and his teams were really freaking good.
Really good. And the part of it, the schmaltzy nature of it, Nags, that we started this off with, as somebody that loves the history and the passion and everything that goes with the Green Bay Packers, Mike embodied all of that. He cared about it. It meant something to him. And
no doubt.
When I think about it the most is come Bear Packer week, because Mike leaned into it, showed the highlight tapes, showed Charles Martin throwing Jim McMahon on down, right? Saw the brawl going over the bench over onto the other side. And like that kind of stuff brought something to him, and his emotion, he wore it on his sleeve. I love that guy from Greenfield, PA. I mean, there won't be a long list of bad things I'll say about Mike McCarthy. It'll just be a long list of good things and how much I enjoyed him being the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And you're right. When he starts choking up at the end and then he goes, just enjoy it, boys. Like, you knew he wanted to say more. He probably had 4 more minutes of material, but he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let you boys get me crying on this camera. So I'm going to get on off of here. Should we hit the phone lines here before a quick timeout, Nags?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Let's go to New Jersey and say hello to Chris. Chris, you're up on Carry the G Radio.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is literally the first time I've tried to ever call in, because I'm a Carry the G Club member, and I was like, let me try this out. First time, got on. So
let's go.
Some good luck today. But, what's going on? So I want to talk about A.J. Dillon. I mean, I know you guys talked about it a little bit in the beginning. I see his face on the sideline. He looks like, I don't see the passion or the fire. He just looks kind of so nervous, like you guys mentioned, so scared out there. Like, not scared, but just very hesitant. And you can see it on his face on the sideline. It's just something that I kind of noticed. Like, where is he? Just straight face, kind of blank eyes. I just don't see that fire when he's a guy who's trying to run over people, you would think. And the other thing, too, with him is he'll get that first hit. His pad level's pretty good. And then he gets stood right up. I've never seen a guy that big get leveled the way that A.J. Dillon does. And it's just crazy that he could get leveled like that. I think his pad level is good at first, and then he gets that first hit, stands straight up, and just gets knocked back. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, too.
I got a couple thoughts, and really appreciate the call, man, and really appreciate you being a Carry the G Club member at Cheesehead TV.
Man.
Thank you so much for the support. I will say this, 2 things, because you got a 2-parter there. I'll take them in order. First of all, it's a little body language police for me. Like, you don't know what guys are thinking. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're going through. As far as, I think he probably had that same look on the sideline his rookie year when he was trucking people. Yeah, it's just, I tend to shy away from this is what his body language was saying, because, man, you don't know. We don't know. We have no idea. But now, on your second point, there's something there. The idea that, yes, we have seen him, and this is the frustrating part. You've seen him do it. I've seen plenty of carries where AJ hasn't gone down on first contact, where he has gotten yards after contact. And yeah, so far this year, there have been a few too many down on contact, no more forward progress after contact. And I tell you what, that's the demoralizing part for a defense. If you're a back who's able to do that, I'll never forget, Amon Green never, ever, ever went down on first contact. Always got 2 or 3 yards afterwards. Aaron Jones does that consistently. And I tell you what, those 2 backs for Atlanta, they did that consistently on Sunday, where, man, can we get a stop? Just somebody stop somebody, because consistently they were getting hit, maybe even at the line of scrimmage, and still getting 3 or 4 yards. Like, that's where AJ needs to be living. And right now he's not, like, at all. And I don't know what the fix is there, but like, that has got to come back to his game. And
it feels like, Nags, it's been gone now for well into last year and still now. So maybe that's where I'm with you. I'm not really judging body posture and
facial
feeling on the sideline. What I will say is, though, it feels like he's thinking too much. I mean, like, there's no totally data on it. I don't have any next gen stats for it, but it just feels like through the hole, he's thinking too much. And that is, that's a comfort deal. You're only going to feel better by playing more and running the ball hard. So the only way that you correct that, giving them that ball
keep
a couple
giving
more
them the
times.
ball. And look,
keep
you
giving
heard
them
Matt.
the rock and see what
you
happens.
You heard Matt yesterday say we're going to look at everything, including schematically. I got to think how they're asking him to work, what they're asking him to do. Probably a bit of a different approach. They're not tearing apart the playbook. They're not completely changing things, but their approach with him will probably be a bit different on Sunday.
Yeah, and
the lead back
and hit a little bit of inside zone and let him be a one-cut guy on a cutback trying to run through an arm tackle.
Begging from my soul. Yes, please.
Let you be a one-cut guy, spot where you feel, and now maybe that adds in more thinking. Maybe people think that affects him negatively. I think it gives him a little bit more of a two-way go and lets you just trust, I'm going to run through this arm tackle, feel a lot better and feel confident doing it.
Totally agree. Look at Armin getting the Hall and Oates up in here. I can't stop dancing, man.
Like, you bet.
That's what I'm talking about. This is
you
the song that
shouldn't stop
famously
dancing.
I never do. This is the song Olive famously one day when I was playing it in the car. She said, Dad, when you played this when I was a little kid, I used to think it was literally about a woman who ate men, and it really scared me. The mind of a child, baby. I love it. I was like, man, this was on the radio when I was a kid. I never thought that in a million years, but
oh god,
perspective.
Hey man, listen, Daryl and John knew a lot of different people. They knew a lot of different people.
This is
man.
true.
They might have found one. They might have
A
found
wide
one.
audience, no doubt. That Philadelphia soul coming shining through, no doubt about it.
All right, let's take some more calls on the other side, Negs. Let's get into a little bit more of Packers and Saints home opener in just a few days.
I got some stuff to say about this Saints game. Yes, sir. Let's go.
He's got stuff to say. We got callers on hold. We only got 2 more segments to go. Carry the G Radio flying by on a Tuesday on the game.
See, it's hard to do an intro when you're jamming to another banger that Armin has thrown down. All I want to do is groove to some Prince. Let's go.
Somehow that
Radio.
might.
What's up?
Set the mood,
Billy?
baby.
Dude, that drum might have been better than the air saxophone.
Come on, let's go. That was my ode to you, Billy, with our conversation last week about how you were the saxophone guy. You know, I figured
the only instrument I ever wanted to learn was the saxophone, because
that's why you got to take those opportunities.
My fingers are way too big and crooked to play the guitar. I just don't have the dexterity. I'm never good at video games, so the guitar is kind of out of place. Saxophone, I thought, is like the most manly of the wind instruments.
I'm with you on that.
All due respect, not playing the clarinet, right? Like,
Sure.
No disrespect to flute players in general, not doing it. You give me a saxophone, and I think you are one of the swaggiest jokers in the entire club.
Could not agree more. I always thought that growing up, that the saxophone emanated cool. It sounded the coolest. It looked the coolest. You could kind of hug it up, you know? And you're not doing that with a cello or a viola.
No, sorry, I'm not grabbing my bass.
Yeah.
My big old one, not even the bass guitar, and leaning on in, making it look cool. No, you can swag out with the saxophone. And frankly, you guys, this is going to make me sound really, really young. And I'm not shaming anybody for their age. You older folks know all the names of everybody that was in a band. Saxophone player, you probably knew right away, right? Like,
he was the
not
cool guy.
Because he was one of the coolest dudes around.
Absolutely.
You're gonna get somebody calling in like last week talking about Kenny G. You keep up this saxophone talk. That's all I know.
Different style, but you know what? He sold a lot of records. You know, Silhouette, Songbird, all those songs.
You actually know the names of Kenny G songs? That's amazing.
Long story. But anyway, and that was just a cool. What are you gonna do? Play the bassoon? No one's playing the bassoon out here, okay? No. Sorry.
There's probably folks out there. Guy. There's bassoon players, probably flute players, like cursing out the radio right now.
They tried to get me to play the tuba. Cool. They tried to get me to play the tuba when I was younger because they're like, "Oh, you're
the big guy.
You'll
get the big guy at tuba."
Yep. Guys, guess 100%. What? I don't fit in it. All right, so I'm not going to work very well. All right.
It's because Whitnell School District had one tuba left and said, "Anybody want the tuba?" That's how they
want this one.
We need someone to use this tuba with regularity. Okay, I know we got to get on track here about this Saints game because look, we've talked a lot about the past. We talked about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We talked about the Atlanta game. We touched on the Saints game a little bit, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who called in, who's had the hoarse voice, but he made a perfect point. Yep. The question is the defense. Like the Saints, no question, have a legit defense. They've allowed 20 or fewer points in 10 straight games dating back to last season, including last night's game that they won 20-17 in Carolina. The defense is no joke. That, is a concern, right? Obviously. But we've talked so much about Jordan Love, about the offense, talk about Jaden Reed being explosive. Who knows about the return of Christian Watson? We've talked about A.J. Dillon. We are now an hour and a half into Carry the G Radio, and we have yet to discuss the gentleman in charge of the defense or the defense in general for the Green Bay Packers. Billy, I am not a fire everyone kind of guy, but I am certainly I am sick of everyone kind of guy. And I am sick and tired of this defense being so predictable, being so soft, being so passive. And we're only in week 2, Billy. I don't know what I'm going to do by week 5. Like week 2. And I'm like, it's 3rd and 15 and we're playing 100 yards off. What are we doing, Billy?
So you're a little bit more, and I just want to make sure that I'm on this because I do think Joe Barry was trying some stuff. Like I saw him cycle in a couple of different personnel packages, try and combat their size with some more size. The 3rd and 3, Devondre Campbell not pressing Bijan Robinson.
Okay. Can we discuss
I'm
this?
for one in the camp of not pressing Bijan Robinson and getting dusted at the 45-yard line for a touchdown.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up because can we just discuss something for a second, how that happens, right? Just the mechanics of it. Because I've seen a lot of people dunking on that play, dunking on Barry. Look, I got a lot of problems with Joe Barry. That call, that play, it's not one of them.
Not one of them, yes.
What happens in that scenario, right? You've got 2 teams in their respective huddles. They both get their calls. The Packers get the man call, come out, they play man.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons get their call. It's spread, empty formation, You got Robinson now splitting out. So now as you're leaving your huddles, respective huddles, play clock's winding down, you get out there, as Devondre Campbell, I've got Robinson. I've got the back. So you follow the back. Where's the back go? Oh, the back goes to the one spot on the perimeter, way outside. Now you've probably got about 12 seconds left until the snap has to go. So I've seen so many people go, how does this happen? Why don't they check out of it? I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there was a reporter yesterday who had no idea how this happens, and they cover football for a living. So now you've got like 12, 13 seconds left in the play clock. They come out of their huddle. You follow your man, your respective man, your Campbell. Oh, he split out wide. Now you've got about 10 seconds, maybe less. So you have to play off, and you have to expect that they're going to run some kind of rub route the closer you get. And lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. They made a good call that took advantage of what probably is a tendency in certain down distances. The Packers like to run this. We're going to try and take advantage of that. Check. That's exactly what they did. It's no different than what the Packers did last week or in week 1 when they got Aaron Jones lined up on a linebacker inside. He takes it to the house, right?
Yep.
That's just part of the schematic chess match, and the Falcons won that one. I don't kill Barry for that whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. What I do have a problem with, and I'm going to let you people hear about it, is this soft shell coverage. The idea that these guys consistently are lining up no matter the down and distance. We've got corners lining up 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. We got 2 safeties deep consistently when you're being run on again and again and again. And I understand there are inherent problems if you start committing numbers, if you do drop down to safety, if you do add an extra lineman, etc. But man, at some point, you're just giving them free yardage again and again and again without any meaningful adjustment. And that's what grinds my gears, to use an old school phrase. That's what just drives me insane.
Well, and I'll say I think it's a little different in this game and then in others, because I think they were somewhat also daring the Falcons to put the ball in Desmond Ritter's hands, right? Like, please.
But how? They're not. How? I disagree. How are you doing that by trying off the line of scrimmage? Go challenge the receivers and drop in a couple bodies into the box, solo him up one-on-one, and then you're challenging him. But in this instance, I didn't see that at all.
Is he going to be able to take the layup, or is he going to spike a couple into the ground? And that is maybe not the best bet to be going on in with, right? Like, especially when you are getting run on the way you were. There's and I struggle with it on the schematic part of it, Nags, and I also struggle on the playing and execution side of it, because I saw a lot of different times guys being able to
a lot of opportunities,
a lot of ops, a lot of times you're within a yard or two from the line of scrimmage, and you're not getting a hand on Robinson or Algier, and they're running through arm tackles. And that I don't always put on the coach, because you can put some guys in position, and sometimes you got to be able to make the play. You got to be the one to make them look right.
Here's the thing, 100%. Now, there are plenty of missed opportunities in that game on both sides of the ball, but especially on defense, whether it's dropping interceptions, whether it is making arm tackles when you got to put you put your body across and get them on the ground, etc. I get all that. But if you're the coordinator and you're getting into the fourth quarter and you see your guys are not rising to the challenge, put them in different positions. That's all I'm asking. Making an adjustment. It was the Eagles game from last year all over again. We're getting run on, and we're not going to do anything about it.
And I kind of thought that was going to get rectified, at least just the being able to see it better from being up in the booth and getting yourself away from the action. Get yourself away from the
emotion of the
onto the sideline. Yes, the emotion of the coach. We got these guys. All right, come on, coach. You know we can do this. That you're removing yourself from. You're getting a full view of it, and you're making your own determination. I don't know that this is going to sound real defeatist, and it's not meant. The scheme's not changing at all, right? Like, I think maybe the aggressiveness turns up just a tick, but that would be like 46 press conferences we've heard Matt LaFleur say, we got to be an aggressive swarm to the ball defense.
To the ball, right.
It doesn't seem like that has really been implemented at all yet.
No, I think this is a scheme where you can make hay if you can wreck shop with 4 up front. We saw that in week 1 in Chicago. They certainly weren't up to that task against Atlanta, who has a really pound it, grind it out mentality. They weren't ready for all that. So it's unfortunate, but this is the scheme, right? They don't have the dogs up front to take control the way you need to if someone's pounding it down your throat. So
dude, this
is the way it's going to be.
This internet thing is amazing. I just was reading through on our super chats that we got here,
sir.
or the YouTube chats. I apologize. Make sure it's a super chat and make sure there's some cash coming through here.
Sir.
But Brandy Lewis, I can just click on this and Brandy Lewis's text comes right on up here that
Welcome to the internet.
might still be too close to the sidelines. Next, this is awesome.
I like this. You click show,
dude,
right?
Yeah. Like I can show Mike should have fired Joe Barry in the offseason and hired Brian Flores. I thought Brian Flores was the biggest offseason acquisition on the defensive side in the entire division. Holy cow. Now we get to showcase these. Armin, you're having way too much fun too.
I love watching you guys discover the internet. This is amazing.
Dude, this is awesome. This is
I'm
like
sure it's really
compelling.
Compelling content for those listening on the radio, no doubt.
Well, and Nags, you learned this last week that I am the least tech savvy millennial of all time. Just learned that I could silence notifications last week on my phone. And now we are going to be having some fun with these chats on Carry the G. I'm glad I found this out week 3. Could you imagine if I would have
I know we could have been in week 10. By the way, you highlighted Brandy Lewis, who is a moderator at Cheesehead TV and a insane Packers fan who has pretty much wanted every defensive coordinator fired that they've ever hired. So that's kind of her brand. You know, it's like she gives them a chance for like a game, maybe 2. And then when the Packers get scored on, which is in eventuality, it's going to happen. It's like it's done. It's over. She wants.
Yep, that's where Ain't Being Cheesy says Brandy always good for her defensive coordinator takes.
That's what I'm saying. It's her brand, man. It's her brand. That and hating Ty Summers. That's all she does in life.
Well,
like,
she can jump. She can be ready.
I know.
To go
That's what
Ty Summers going to run out of that visitors tunnel this.
I know.
Week.
That's a big reunion week this week with Ty Summers coming, and these Saints. They're no joke, man. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game.
See, now I'm just too immature that I've never called Brandy Lewis by the other name that I got quite infamous for calling out as a guest during the Drew and KB show. Dave, KB's biggest fan on our text line, says, seemed like the safeties just weren't filling at all throughout the game. And Negs, he asks, is that scheme or is that players? Or is it just a combination of both, which might be the best cop-out answer of all time?
Yes, but it is because, A, we don't know the calls. B, you see guys flying into frame, right? But you don't know what the call was. You don't know what they're reacting to. They don't know what their keys are. But, man, they need to be better in that regard. There's no doubt. I mean, look, the other team is paid too. They got 2 really talented backs who made guys look silly in space on a number of occasions.
Big time.
But they have to be better. They have to get that mentality that Matt has talked about, that you just mentioned. Rally to the ball, all 11 hats to the ball. Got to start seeing that on Sunday against the Saints.
All right, before we get on out of here, we're getting to YouTube chats and more texts, like from one of our most notoriously negative texters, Greg and Franklin. I agree with a lot of your Mike McCarthy takes from the previous segment. If only he had a quarterback who could perform in the playoffs from 2013 on instead of regular season only Rodgers.
Damn.
Like the show.
Damn.
Armin, like the show from Greg and Franklin?
I don't know what planet. What planet is this? The Twilight Zone?
Like the show?
He likes it.
Holy cow, dude!
This
is an award-winning radio
Are you saying
program.
we've won over Greg and Franklin after 2 broadcasts? That's a feather in my cap right there.
That might be
impressive.
This is Greg and Franklin's favorite show. Now he'll listen and hate text for the rest of the 12 hours. That just means that we're doing something right in here on Tuesdays.
Damn right, sir. You damn right.
We got a lot more of your reactions, your YouTube chats, your texts, and your calls for Aaron Nagler. It's Carry the G Radio on the game.
Can't stop, ain't got no brakes. Girl, you gotta do a little ride up and down, in and out around your leg. I'm just delirious. You get me delirious.
don't have anyone holding, right? Wednesday on 9 to noon with Kuhn and Billy. It's a wide open Wednesday as we start heading towards the Packers home opener against the Saints. Our Pro Football Hall of Fame nominee, John Kuhn, has a You Better You Bet. Our Pro Football Hall of Fame nominee, John Kuhn, has a Can't Miss. Your chance to play You Better You Bet. It's Wednesday, 9 to noon after Kuhn and... It's Wednesday, 9 to noon after Zabin Butch.
It's Carry the G Radio across this great land of Wisconsin and various parts of the internet. Aaron Nagler here, taking it down the home stretch with Billy Schmid, Armin on the decks. And speaking of Carry the G, I do want to give a shout out to the Tap Yard in Brookfield, Wisconsin, where my co-founder, Corey Banke, will be on Friday night, this Friday night, from 6 to 8 to celebrate the launch of this season's batch of Carry the G, the cream ale brought to you by Cheesehead TV. The Tap Yard,
right.
Friday night in Brookfield. Be there, people. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a great spot, by the way. Like, I mean, I generally will say that about a lot of places. Tap Yard, though, it's rather
this one's genuine, though. This what you're saying. This one's genuine.
Yes, and my favorite part of it is the varieties that you can get. So it's not surprising to me that they're throwing this on out there. I'm pumped up about that. And Carry the G is going to be a lot more places throughout the season as well that I've heard.
100%. In fact,
including in my belly.
In your belly, most assuredly. But we just dropped a huge addition to our list on cheeseheadtv.com. If you go to the homepage, you'll see a tab for beer, because of course there's a tab for beer at Cheesehead TV. And you go there, you get the Carry the G info. You'll get a list of all the places it is currently available in Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Madison, expanding to other great parts of Wisconsin very, very soon.
That's amazing. Can I ask you a really, really dumb question? And I apologize for taking up our time on Carry the G Radio for this.
Please.
Did you ever think that you guys would make a beer? Like, was this ever like a part of the business model? Was this ever like a thought that crossed your head?
Well, obviously beer was part of the business model.
Sure.
We always said, literally when we started out, like pretending this was going to be a business, when it was literally just Corey and I getting together on a Wednesday night to talk Packers into microphones because we wanted to, back in 2007. We used to joke, someday the goal is to get a beer sponsor, a sausage sponsor, and like a brat sponsor. And like, that's going to happen like ever. But then, you go along in life and you get mature as a person and it does start to become a business. And you're like, wait a second. And then, what happened is we just thought, we want to make our own beer. We got a nice introduction.
We should.
To the guys at Gathering Place, to Joe at Gathering Place. And we just started talking about, hey, we should do this. And then we did it, and it kind of took off last year in a way I don't think anybody was really expecting it to. We did it like as okay, let's try it, but it really got a good response, and it's getting a good response this year, and hopefully y'all have it wherever you are in Wisconsin this weekend for the home opener while you're watching the Packers take on the Saints.
Well, and dude, I don't mean to blow smoke, and I know we got a caller on hold, so we'll get to Len here in just 1 second. But your post that you had on, I want to say it was on Instagram, of discussing the ability for you guys to become its own business, right? Once Cheesehead TV became its own business, dude, I felt that like that. You could feel it of how important that was to you guys, and it's one of the reasons why these passions become big business, is because when you combine intelligent, smart business planning with a passion, things just take off from there like that. So that was really, really cool to be able to hear you guys reach that benchmark and celebrate that.
That means a lot, buddy. I don't know about that whole first part about intelligent business planning, but passion, we got a lot of that. We definitely
listen, I've been to that LiveX Megaplex. It's freaking big business models. All right. You're not doing anything half over there. All right. That's legit.
That is
stuff.
fair. That is fair. But I believe we have someone waiting on the line. I think we got Len in Connecticut ready to talk to us here on Carry the G Radio. Len, what's going on, man?
Hey, Nags. How you doing, bud?
I'm awake. How are you?
Hey, calling in this afternoon, rather, talk to you guys about that O-line and Bakhtiari's knee flaring up and not worrying, but more concerned about that pass rush coming off from that left side. Do you think, you think Bakhtiari plays, or do you think we have our hands full with Cam Jordan and the other guy that's up there in the top 10 in quarterback pressures this year?
Yeah, it's a legit concern if you're the Green Bay Packers, whether Bakhtiari plays or not. Look, this is the downside of doing a show about, and talking about a game coming up on Sunday on a Tuesday afternoon, literally the guy's day off. We don't start to know really about anything until Wednesday when we get that first injury report. First practice of the week happens. In my gut, I got to think Bakhtiari will be out there on Sunday, but who knows, man? We'll get more information on that tomorrow. But sitting here right now, look, what's amazing to me about the job they did up front on Sunday in Atlanta was, as we discussed earlier in the show, I mean, that's getting thrown into the fire if you're Rasheed Walker, as far as fast track, really loud dome. It's going to be a very different world in Lambeau on Sunday. It's going to be, except for the moments when the crowd is doing the wave on offense and they have to play the video of Jordan Love saying don't do that. But mostly it's going to be quiet when they're on offense, and he's going to be able to operate in a much different way. But here's the thing. Even with the hostile environment on Sunday, Billy, and you know this as an offensive lineman, they did not have to materially change much as far as their offensive approach goes, right? Like it didn't
it was
look
pretty similar. Yep.
vastly different from what we saw in week 1, as far as there were plenty of times when he was soloed up with whoever was rushing the passer. Now, it ain't like the Saints are bringing in Sisters of the Poor here to rush Jordan Love. Like he's going to have his hands full, but he'll at least have a bit. Whoever's out there, either tackle spot, is going to have much more to work with as far as getting off the snap of the ball and not having to look in and being able to just listen for Jordan Love's cadence.
That's a huge help, and it's not the reincarnate of Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, and Aaron Donald all on one defensive line, right? So I mean, like, is Cam Jordan very, very good? Absolutely so. I don't really fear Rasheed Walker playing at this juncture.
Yeah.
Played at Penn State. He played at some pretty loud environments in the Big Ten and balled out. Like, so that part of it I'm not concerned about. But to your point, he's going to not have to deal with the noise in his second pro start if indeed Dave's not there. And I think that's a major plus. I would love to know, and I appreciate the call, Len. I'd love to know when this new injury flared up, if it's a new injury, if indeed we're talking about a swelling issue that's new, not just the same old, but we need Dave to talk about it. So probably won't get those answers for quite some time.
Does anyone remember back this offseason when he used the word they to describe the Green Bay Packers and how the whole internet lost its freaking mind? It was so clear he was going to get traded or he wanted out.
So did that guy underneath here, by the way, Armin. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure he's just trolling everybody. Like, I do not doubt for a moment that his knee is an issue. But the fact that he's not talking and not clarifying things is because he just likes watching the internet burn. That's my guess.
Well, and we like watching Dave play, and that's one of the reasons why we have these burning questions to see if he is going to go. Nags, this is too much fun, dude. We just burned through these 2 hours way too quickly.
That's what we do, baby. That's what we do.
All right, man. Let's do it again next week, Tuesday at noon. I appreciate it, as always. Hell of a day 2 for Carry the G Radio.
Carry the G Radio. Appreciate you, buddy. Armin, keep throwing down those hot tunes. Gotta love it. And look, don't ever back down about the tailgating issue because you are 100% right, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Don't you ever stop fighting the good fight. This has been Carry the G Radio. This is 97.3 The Game.